So we were doing we're reading Khadro's book, Red Tara Commentaries, and last week we started talking about the prayer on page 5 of the English Tara practice, written by Khenpo Naga, one of Chagdud Rinpoche's teachers. And this prayer is actually a continuation of the 21 Taras text that he wrote, the 21 Taras praises. So last week we talked about what means perceiving everything purely as the deity's body, forms as inseparable from emptiness or dreamlike forms, and dreamlike sounds, and thoughts as the deity also means that when a thought arises, it's immediately recognized, and just by looking at the mind, looking at the thought, it automatically, naturally liberates. If you think about it, all thoughts have the same destination. They dissolve. They are liberated, self-liberated. The only difference is some of them stay and pester us for a long time because we don't know how to facilitate the process of self-liberating thoughts. And it's all tied up with awareness. When you're aware, when you look at the thought, you're aware that the thought arises, and just look at it naturally without having to do anything. Just look at it with awareness. Naturally, the thought dissolves. When you don't have the awareness to look at the thoughts can cycle and perpetuate what we call like spinning. But even the thoughts that we spin on, at some point, they lose their power and they also dissolve. So with meditation, you're just speeding up that process. You're liberating the thoughts naturally just by looking at them. Then Khadro mentions about the stains and obscurations of non-virtue be cleansed, and harm from other beings and bad dreams be averted. And then we get into the next section on grant the blessing of protection from the fear of lower existences. So those are, may rebirth not occur in the 8 states devoid of leisure to practice, which refers to the lower realms, which are the hell realms, the hungry ghost realm, and the animal realm. But then when we include the other states that are devoid of leisure to practice, we also include the God realms, the being reborn in a time where no Buddha appears, being reborn amongst what they're called the border tribes, in which there is no connection to the teachings, and rebirth with a mental or physical disability that makes it impossible to understand the teachings. Also rebirth among those with extremely wrong views. For example, the idea that killing is going to please God, or it's virtuous in some way, or that our actions have no karmic consequences would be another example of wrong views. So these states are called devoid of leisure to practice because they involve the mind stream ceaselessly in samsaric delusion. Even the realm of the gods, where there seems to be endless leisure, is actually a state of constant involvement with the false pleasures of samsara. So in these 8 states, there is no thought of attaining enlightenment, and the mind stream is not opened enough that such a thought can even occur. Because, for example, those that are intoxicated by pleasure, wealth, fame, and power, they're so involved in those games and those traps that it never occurs to them that this will ultimately lead to more and more suffering. So they don't have this thought, I wish to be free from all of this samsaric activity. They're completely devoted and engaged in their samsaric activity, and completely intoxicated by the pleasures and temptations and sensory pleasures that they're surrounded by. They say in the human realm, we have just the right mix of leisure and suffering. So the suffering is enough that we are reminded that this place is really not completely satisfactory, and we're constantly seeing images or hearing stories or connecting with people that have had some kind of horrible suffering, or we have a pandemic like what's happening now, and it's constantly reminding us, this place is dangerous, this place is not satisfactory, this place ultimately is going to result in suffering. So that inspires us to seek the spiritual path, to try to attain a state beyond this kind of suffering. And at the same time, as human beings, we have the leisure to practice. So that means we're not so entirely overwhelmed and engulfed in our sufferings and our problems that we can't take a time out and try to practice virtue or meditate or do prayers or go to the temple or go to the church. So it's just the right mixture here of enough suffering to motivate us, to give us an incentive, and enough free time and leisure that we can actually do something about it.